Kentucky basketball was down several players. They went on the road. They needed a win, and they got one over the Tennessee Volunteers.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe, and on today's episode of Locked On Kentucky, we are going to be recapping Kentucky basketball's victory on the road over the Tennessee Volunteers. Huge win for Mark Pope and company, down both their starting and backup point guards in this one, down Andrew Carr. Ladies and gentlemen, they find a way to go on the road and pull this one out. What a great game. Going to dive into it here on today's show. Of course, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can bet just $5, and if they win, they'll score $200 in bonus bets. You can download the FanDuel app or you can go to FanDuel.com to get started. Thank you guys so much for checking out the show today. A lot of you guys already here in the live chat on YouTube. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please go ahead and do so. If you're listening to this on the postcast on podcast, would love for you to subscribe there as well. If you have any thoughts on this game, go ahead and put them in the live chat. We'll be breaking this down with you guys here. Obviously, a massive win. 78-73 is the final score. Cats now 15-5, 4-3 in SEC play. Huge game for Kentucky beyond the arc. We said it coming in, and I continue to harp on the fact that this team, when they shoot the ball well, they're very hard to beat, and they needed to have a big-time shooting performance in this one. Look at what Kentucky did from beyond the arc, both volume and efficiency. 12 made threes on 24 shot attempts, good for 50% from beyond the arc. Tennessee, they made 11 threes, but they had to take 45 to get there, 24.4% for the Vols. We talked about it in the preview episode. This team gets a lot of their points from beyond the arc, and they'll let you take some too. And for the Cats here, it was very interesting how in the first half, Tennessee, we said coming in, they'll let you take a lot of threes. I expected them to try and maybe buck some of those trends, maybe run Kentucky off the three-point line a little bit. They didn't do that. They let Kentucky inside-out style basketball kick things out, let Almonor, let Jaxson, let Brea, they let them take threes, and Kentucky made them pay. This was the performance that we were looking for when we walked in this preseason and said, okay, this roster has shooters all over the place. You had three massive performances here from beyond the arc from Robinson, Brea, and Almonor. Again, we're going to continue to break this one down here on today's show. Again, thank you guys so much in the live chat. We're talking here about the three different big performances, and let's go ahead and dive into, I think, the biggest one here, the guy that I said had to step up the most, and that was Jaxson Robinson. Jax obviously had a little bit of a shooting slump to start the year, but over the course of the last several games, he has lit it up from three. He was only 6 of 16 from the floor in this game, but 4 of 9 from beyond the arc. He also had 4 rebounds, an assist, and a block in this game as well in 34 minutes of play. Plus 20 in plus-minus box score. He was the second on the team in that category. This was so great to see Jax step up when Kentucky needed him to do a little bit more than run off ball. He ran the offense, I think, pretty well in this game. Again, not necessarily high assist numbers for the Cats here. We'll get to what Amari Williams did in this game in a second, but Jax still ran things pretty efficiently, I would say, and he obviously had those 4 threes go. Huge stuff from Jax. I'm super impressed with the way that he's kind of churned things around, and you can see he's got a little bit of his confidence going, which was huge to see in this game. Taking a look at the live chat here, Ito the F&D said, Lance, you should check my comment on your preview video. I called it Carr would play. We'd hit shots from the outside. We would win. And that's what I was saying in the preview episode is like, look, if Kentucky's going to win this game, it comes down to essentially one thing, and that's whether or not you hit those outside shots. Of course, again, Kentucky did 12 threes. And a lot of you are talking in the live chat about Amari Williams, which we'll go ahead and get to his performance here. Look, there have been a lot of different games here where Amari has just not played the way that you would like him to. He's not played as strong as you would expect a guy to play at his position. You expect a little bit more muscle. You expect him to dunk the ball when given the opportunity. You expect him to defend shots more consistently. And gentlemen, he did all of those things in this game. He had a double-double, 10 points, 15 rebounds, 13 of those on the defensive end of the floor. He also had 4 assists. Yes, he had 3 turnovers, but man, he had some really nice passes in this one. Again, some really nice rebounds, playing physical down low, boxing out, taking control of things, plus 20 in the plus-minus box score department. And this was the story of the game. It was Amari and Jaxson, and it was essentially your starting lineup. If you want to go and look at Stats Broadcast, you can actually go and look and see everybody's plus-minus box score, and you can notice that every single player that came off the bench tonight was negative. Every single starter was either even or positive, with Kobe Brea being the only person there at a net 0. That's what you want to see whenever you are shorthanded and you have to make adjustments and you have to put certain players in the clutch. They come and they play a lot of minutes and they go out there and they contribute consistently. Gentry says in the chat, here's hope Jax is okay, even though he was limping. He had some sort of issue there towards the end of the game. I think he's okay, especially considering the way that he was playing towards the end. I mean, he was moving around pretty okay. But yeah, it was really good to see him performing. Hopefully he is okay. Also, Gentry notes, Noah was a huge spurt of energy, more of an impact than Perry and Chandler. And if you want to go actually look at the negatives here on the plus-minus box score, Colin Chandler -1 in 15 minutes, Trent Noah -1 in 9 minutes, but he was 2 of 2 from the floor, had a big rebound there in the early on, hit that 3 obviously in the second half at the top of the key. This is what you want to see out of your freshmen, coming in, providing valuable minutes, hitting shots when they're open. I was really impressed with the way that Trent played. Travis Perry -6 in 5 minutes, which again, I want to reiterate, try to play him as little as possible. They only played him 5 minutes in this game. I didn't think he would be able to come in here and make it work, and he honestly, he really didn't. But talk about players that kind of surprised me here, and that's Brandon Garrison, -16 in 16 minutes of play. He had 2 points, 2 rebounds, an assist, no turnovers, no blocks, no steals. But man, a weird game considering just how things have been trending for both Amari and Brandon Garrison. So yeah, just a really, really good all-around performance from the Cats. Owe took a hard fall, too. Somebody notes in the chat, that's right. Owe had 14 points and 6 rebounds in this one. He was somebody that you expected to be, again, one of Kentucky's most consistent players on the floor in terms of scoring. He is not what you are looking for from beyond the arc. He's kind of struggled in that department as of late, but man, he can drive in and get you a lot of different buckets inside the paint. Obviously, you would have liked to see some of those jumpers go down, but unfortunately they didn't. He got to the line, 9 free throws in this one. If he had cashed in a little bit more consistently, maybe you see Kentucky close this one out a little bit earlier than they did. 16 of 24 from the line, 15 of 22 in the second half. This was an extremely uneven officiated game. I thought the officiating was pathetic, quite frankly. You don't often get to see all of this muscle, all of this physicality, all of this back and forth with no calls, and then you see these rebounds, or you see Ziegler try and drive, and he gets called for, or excuse me, he draws all of these bull crap fouls. I did not see what the officials were seeing tonight. Frankly, I thought it was pathetic, as it usually is. The crew was just not very good. But Kentucky was able to fight through it. They were able to play more defense without fouling in the second half. I was very, very impressed. So we'll continue to break this down here. Big time stuff across the board. Appreciate everybody in the live chat. Again, if you've not subscribed, we'd love for you to do so. Leave a comment. Let me know what you thought about this game. I'll try and get to it here as we continue along. Before we do that, though, of course, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here, and it's one game, 2 teams, and endless possibilities, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook, because whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, That's simply icing on the cake. You can download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Again, bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. You can bet with FanDuel, an official partner of Super Bowl 59. All right, continuing along here on the Tuesday evening edition of Locked On Kentucky. Lance Dawe hanging out here with you. Really appreciate you guys checking out the show in the live chat. Over 300 of you here breaking down the show with me today. Really appreciate you guys. Again, if you have not liked the video, subscribe to the show. Would love it if you did so. Breaking down Kentucky's 78-73 win over the Tennessee Volunteers, Kentucky's 7th Quad 1 game, and it's official. Kentucky now has more Quad 1 victories than they did a season ago, and gentlemen, there are plenty, and I mean plenty of opportunities for Kentucky to continue to raise that mark. Luke Newman asked, will there be a Locked On Kentucky and Locked On Razorbacks video? There will be. I'll get with John Neighbors about it. My expectation is for us to do a crossover here later on in the week. Of course, we'll be talking about the Hogs. We'll be talking about the game. We'll talk about Cal, how this thing will go down. I've got some thoughts on how Big Blue Nation may approach and should approach Cal coming back to Rupp Arena. This one for the Cats. Let's just go ahead and get this out of the way. So Kentucky beats the number 6 team according to Ken Pom, but they dropped back-to-back games against Alabama and Vanderbilt. Frankly, you should have won the Vanderbilt game, and you didn't. You didn't close that one out. A lot of turnovers there, just some confusing basketball, some really bad officiating there towards the end, despite a really good game consistently from the refs. And then you turn around here on the road. You don't expect Kentucky to be coming into this one with a lot of energy. You see that they're down 3 different players. Everything's kind of trending in the wrong direction, and the Cats go on the road and they steal one, in essence. Something that I think that we really need to be extremely clear on with the way that these Cats play is that it seems like they're getting up for all of these really big-time games, and they're not really closing out some of the more easy contests, I should say, at least relative to the difficult competition that they've already beaten. A lot of you listened to the recap episode of the Vanderbilt game, and I said Vanderbilt is not good, not a great team. They're a good team, but they're not a great team, especially relative to competition Kentucky, again, has already beaten. A lot of you took that out of context and said, well, you're saying Vanderbilt's not a good team. That's a ridiculous take. Again, listening to the show, you beat a team like Tennessee, and you expect the Cats to go and play a team like Arkansas this Saturday and get up for that contest. Again, it's about consistency. You have to get up for the Super Bowls, and you have to get up for your Super Bowls as well. Whenever you go and play the Vols in Knoxville, down 3 players, of course you're going to get up for that. Whenever you go and play a team like South Carolina at home here in about 10 days, yes, you absolutely have to get up for that game. So it's about consistency with this team. Again, I'm proud of them tonight. I'm proud of the effort that they showed, especially on the defensive end of the floor. But, man, you have to be able to show a little bit more consistency here down the stretch. It's going to really give you some confidence as you head towards March. Okay. Some other notes here in this game. I want to get to Ansley Almonor, who played big tonight. 30 minutes, +9, 12 points, 4 of 7 from beyond the arc, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. Big numbers from Ansley with the headband, man. He kind of looks like Melo out there. Clean, dude. He's just such a smooth player. He looks calm. He doesn't look rushed. He was getting his shots up, man. He was knocking them down, especially in that first half. What a valuable addition off the bench, and we were saying it in the preseason. This guy's going to come in, and he's going to have a couple of games where he pops off, where he contributes a big time over maybe the 2 or 3 shots that he'll normally get coming off the bench, and sure enough, tonight, he did a little bit of that and some defense as well, which was a concern there in the preseason as well. A lot of conversation, a lot of arguing back and forth in the chat right now. Zach Kroger says, we need to empower Robinson and Almonor more often. Noah really helped more than expected too. Yeah, I think that you're starting to realize kind of who your scorers are as you get down the stretch here if Butler's going to be out, and it's pretty clear you've got some consistent options, man. Find ways to get Robinson the ball if he's going to be shooting this well from beyond the arc. Find ways to get Ansley open if he's going to be shooting this well from beyond the arc. Also, let's talk a little bit about Kobe Brea here for a second, as Luke Newman in the chat notes. Kobe Brea was phenomenal, and Chaz Lanier wasn't. Kobe Brea in this game, 18 points. 5 of 5 from the floor, 3 of 3 from beyond the arc. Had hit a little bit of a slump as of late, but he knocked all 3 of his threes down in this game, including one that bounced off the rim, off the backboard, and then back in again. 3 rebounds, 3 assists, a block. big-time block in the first half, and a steal. So 5 of 5 with 18 points, as opposed to Chaz Lanier, who finished a calm 5 of 14, 3 of 10 from beyond the arc, and 15 points. Yeah, Brea outplayed Lanier in this game. This is a game where you expect Chaz to come in, knock down his threes, not the most efficient player inside the arc. They tried to get him going in that second half by running like the same curl play 3 times in a row. He hit 2 different shots on the elbow there, but again, just not consistent enough. Kind of chucking up shots, it felt like, at different times here for Tennessee. They just felt like the shot selection wasn't great. And whenever they did have decent shot selection, the ball was just not going in the hole. And Kentucky took advantage, man. They went out and they got stops. They grabbed rebounds. If you want to go look at the rebound total in this game, I'll try and pull it up here for you guys here. Let's see. Kentucky had 38 rebounds. Tennessee had 41. They had 18 offensive rebounds, 20 second chance points. But again, Kentucky in that second half kind of kept things at bay, despite Tennessee kind of rallying there on the offensive glass in the first period. But Kentucky, again, just kind of holding things off defensively. If you want to go look at where they're at on KenPom as well, they jumped from 81st to 77th in adjusted defensive efficiency. Again, I continue to say over and over and over, if you can just get 60th or higher, it's going to be big for you. It's going to be really, really big for UK. Let's see. Zach Kroger says, Williams gets the numbers, but he is hard to watch without holding your breath. Our ball handlers make him look slow. I have nothing to add on to that. I just simply agree. Fans should celebrate Cal on Saturday and then send him off with an L. Yeah, I don't think booing is going to be the right thing for Kentucky to do here whenever we get to that Arkansas game. I don't think that'll be right. Piker Believer asked, how did we win that game? Again, Kentucky going on the road, shocking the Vols. I don't get it. Kentucky was up by what at one point? 11, 57-46 in the second half, and you felt like, okay, when's the lead going to collapse? And then it kind of did. Kentucky got up by 3, and then Tennessee, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they tied it at one point. I may be wrong on that, but Kentucky was able to close it out. There have been several games here over the last few weeks where the Cats have been up. They couldn't close it out, man. Couldn't close it out against Clemson. Couldn't close it out against Bama or Vandy. And here you are now. Another game that you just simply found a way to close out. Luke Newman says, I think Tennessee does miss having Jonas Adu. Felix Okpara is not very good on offense, and I would agree. He didn't seem very productive tonight. 2 of 5 from the floor. You would expect their bigs. They've got like 3 guys that are like 6'10", 6'11". They'd be a little bit more efficient. Shout out Igor Milicic, dude. That guy's going to be a problem, man. With 19 points, 6 of 10, 4 of 8 from 3, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, no turnovers. That's a pure stretch 4. That is a major problem. He's a good player. I respect it. He's somebody that we noted in the preview episode. That's a kid that can drive it too, and he got a couple drives in and dunked on a couple different people. Ryan Field says Noah must get more minutes. I think you start feeding him more minutes, man, as things get further on down the stretch, especially if Butler's going to be out, which one of you guys asked earlier, how long is Butler going to be out? We don't know. Right now, we don't know. Frankly, we don't know for Kirk Ariza. Biker Believer says the methodical pace we played with is the way this team needs to play. I don't necessarily know if slowing the game down is the way that you want to play. I think Kentucky does benefit from some chaos. You got to see that in the first half too. Kentucky plays better when the game sped up just a little bit. And I think they for the first time this year, I think I can say with confidence against a major opponent, Kentucky sort of implemented their will in terms of pace of play. And when things got down into the half court, they were able to play comfortably with them just because Tennessee's just not a very efficient shooting team, and they didn't have their stuff today. Let's see. Chandler played hard on D for a few good minutes. DS says Trent Noah is the one I look forward to the most. Kroger says UK looked unstoppable in the first 8 minutes. They started to struggle when they wore down Tennessee and Tennessee set the tempo. Again, you have to kind of pick things up just a little bit. Let's see. Faith says, is Amari running the point our best option with Butler being out? I personally think the offense ran smooth. Yeah, I mean, again, this is part of what Mark Pope likes to do. He likes to have his big at the top of the key. You'll see zoom action, curling inside out. You'll kind of rotate things over and over until you find a matchup or an open look. And Amari had some good passes in this game, man, and I don't necessarily think it's the best option for you moving forward for that to be like a primary source, like a big-time source of your offense. But again, I think that Jax handles the ball fine. I think that Noah handled the ball fine. I think Dawe can also run some stuff too, but I think that Williams, the way that he contributed tonight, if you can get that amount of contribution, I guess, from him moving forward, I think that is definitely good. Let's see. Neil Floyd says these guys being put and getting bench minutes will help if we need them come tournament time. I could not agree more with that. Stephen says booing Cal would be a low-class move. I agree. As we get closer to that game, I think you need to start to understand here that this is a coach that gave us 15 good years in a national championship, and I understand the things surrounding his departure from this program, but still, it's a guy that you don't want to boo, I don't think, as you get closer to that game. Biker Believer says this was a gutsy win, some crappy Butterfingers turnovers, but overall a great collective effort. And we will continue to break down this win, and I'm going to get to some more things that you guys are saying in chat, as well as some things about turnovers and just kind of looking ahead here. Before we do that, though, I want to tell you guys about our friends at Intuit TurboTax. Taxes has been waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back, and waiting and wondering and worrying some more. But now Taxes here with TurboTax is matching with a TurboTax expert. It is getting somebody who can do your taxes as soon as today, and it's an expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert here who will find you every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, and everything worth your time with 100% accuracy. So all you can get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now this right here is taxes. You can get an expert now on TurboTax.com. It's only available with TurboTax Live full service. Real-time updates only in the iOS mobile app. You can see guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. All right, continuing along here on the Tuesday edition of Locked On Kentucky, trying to fumble through here so I can get to some more chats because you guys are running through all of these different comments here. Thomas Chesser asked, Dawe versus Thiero. It's going to be an interesting matchup for certain. Biker Believer says Chandler wasn't perfect, but he did some great things, looked a lot better than he had looked more confident and held his position. Yeah, he looked a little bit more confident here in the limited time that he played. So let's talk here a little bit about the turnovers. So Kentucky is one of the least turnover-prone teams in the entire country. As it stands right now, they have gone from 14.4% to 17.10% in SEC play, which is 10th in the conference. So they're turning the ball over a little bit more than they'd like, and that's something that you're going to have to monitor here moving forward is, okay, can you start to limit some of these mistakes as more teams put more pressure on you? I think you're going to see a little bit of that pressure here whenever Arkansas rolls into town here this Saturday. Can you kind of fight some of those things off? And it's something that we need to be aware of. Again, Williams with 3 turnovers, Jax with 2, Dawe with 2 in this game. The team had 13 total. Still had a positive assist rate, though, 14 assists to 13 turnovers. Not mad at that at all. Let's be honest about the Arkansas game coming up. If Arkansas was playing, I don't know if I can say that, but I do appreciate that comment. I don't know if I could say that on air. William Velez says, would love to see more rebounding with both hands. They swap the ball too much for their size. I agree. And Dawe is, I think, he's a guilty culprit of this. I mean, you saw several times where he was just going up with one paw. Of course, he came down with it a few times, but you gotta be more consistent with both hands, man. Both hands. Luke says, I hope Williams and Garrison can do good against Big Z. I agree. Curious to see so many different weird matchups here with this Arkansas team. Biker Believer says, I'd take Thiero back at Kentucky. He'd flourish under Mark Pope. He'd certainly be a good rebounder and a better defender than some of the things that we've gotten so far this season. Julie Sheving says, yes, we have Coach Pope. I think a lot of this game, you have to give credit to Pope's ability to coach, man. You're down 3 players on the road against what was, coming into this game, the best defensive team in the country, according to KenPom. You drop 78 and you win. You have to play a small forward at point. I mean, this is just really, really good stuff here from Mark Pope. Great Kentuckian says, hey, Lance, I think Noah will be a great 6th man next year. Just need to work on his handles and build the confidence in his shooting. He'll come off the bench more often to get a spark of offense. I agree. I think that if he's able to build a little bit more muscle, kind of get more comfortable in his offensive game, he can be somebody like Almonor next year that can provide a spark. Biker Believer says, Tennessee nearly beat Auburn. Makes no sense how we won this at Tennessee. The SEC's weird, man. The SEC's weird. It is a strange year in this conference where certain teams are upsetting certain teams and certain teams are blowing certain teams out. You don't expect it. Kentucky, man, going on the road, winning what feels like a good matchup whenever Tennessee comes to Rupp Arena on February 11th. I mean, at this point now, with the way that Kentucky kind of handled guys like Ziegler and Lanier and honestly Jordan Gainey as well, I feel good whenever that game comes to Rupp here on February 11th. Let's see. Luke Newman says, I heard if Kentucky can score 60 points against Arkansas, Kentucky wins. I would hold off on that because I don't know how many points Arkansas is going to score, especially with all these guys trying to drive to the rim for the Hogs. Let's see. Anthony Edwards says, Pope has beaten Duke, Louisville, and Tennessee far more than expected. This is a year, man, where you come into it thinking you're kind of uncertain about how the year's going to go. You're not certain how Pope's going to pan out, and you're excited about all these different offensive pieces. And here you are now. You've beaten a lot of really good teams. Now, you've lost to some bad teams, I'm going to be honest with you, but you've gone and on the road beaten some really impressive squads. Let's see. Mark Smith says this is the strongest SEC ever. Could not agree more. Luke Newman says, I think Kentucky can beat Alabama in Coleman Coliseum. That's going to be a tough out. But I think Kentucky can be competitive in that one, honestly. Duke almost lost at home last night to a 10-10 NC State. Everyone is beatable, and that is the beautiful nature of college basketball. Anybody is beatable at any time. Great Kentuckian says, I'll be booing Cal, not because of the first 10 years, but because of the last 5. Could I express gratitude when you failed multiple? How could I express gratitude when you failed multiple times in the postseason, missed one and first-round losses? I think it comes back to just being respectful and appreciative of those first 10 years, and I understand that things are like the way that they ended, not so great, but it's still a Hall of Fame coach. It's one of your best coaches of all time still at that point. So I understand the frustration. It's just I think that it will be interesting to see how the entirety of the arena handles it. Let's see. Jeffrey Evans, big win for the boys. Insane shot percentage on the best three-point defense in the league. That's a great point. That we haven't even talked about that. Hey, by the way, Tennessee led the nation. They still do in three-point percentage on defense. Kentucky shot a cool 50%. Jeffrey also asked, how is KenPom looking, Lance? So we went up one spot and adjusted efficiency on offense. We went from 4th to 3rd at 125.1, which is crazy. It means we're averaging 125.1 points per 100 possessions against an average Division I defense. That's crazy. That's crazy stuff. 77th on defense at 100.9. Again, I keep saying over and over and over, if you can get under 60, you'll be good. Why? Because then you'll be averaging less than 100 points given up per 100 possessions. And if you're already averaging 125 per 100, you're going to be putting yourself in a really good spot moving forward to where just at law of averages says you're going to be in contention for a lot of games that maybe you shouldn't be because of just how good your offense is relative to an average defense here. So Carlos Edwards says the Jekyll and Hyde Cats, good win, go Big Blue. And the thing I keep saying, you see it on the thumbnail if you clicked on the show, Cardiac Cats, man, this team is stressing me out, but they find ways to win. They will take it all the way down to the wire, man, and they have found ways to clutch things up. Christopher Reese says, what if we could start learning how to rebound? It'd be great for Kentucky on the offensive end, I think, for certain. Luke Newman says, what's crazy is Kansas has lost 2 games at home this season and right now is tied with UCF. That's going to be a game I will be monitoring here whenever we get off the stream. And speaking of, we'll end on this comment from Michael Aldridge. I don't care about KenPom. I care about the resume to go get a good seed in the tournament. I teased it yesterday, and I'll reiterate it here today. Tomorrow's episode, we're going to be taking a very deep dive into possible resume outcomes and what Kentucky's seed line could be. I'm going to give you my best prediction as to where they will land, and we'll take a look at some of the matchups Kentucky could have. There are some really big-time names on the 12 seed line. If Kentucky can finish higher than that, if they can finish a 4 seed or higher, get there as a 4 seed or higher, then that would be excellent. Will they? we'll break it down on tomorrow's episode. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Hey, if you're in the live chat, like the video, subscribe to the show. Got some good stuff coming up here for you. Going to dive into some numbers, some matchup stuff. Obviously, Locked on Razorbacks will be hopping on the show later on this week. Got a big game on Saturday. You don't want to be anywhere else. Stay locked on Kentucky right here. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked on Kentucky. Hey, you can follow the show on Twitter at Locked on UK. You can follow me on Twitter at @LanceDawe_, and follow the show over on Instagram at Kentucky Podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns, leave those in the YouTube comments below. Hit me on the socials. I will see you all tomorrow for another episode of Locked on Kentucky. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and God bless.